Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam deving sarasatim yasam tato jayamadhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who is the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishiki. By regularly attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of God, at whose worship with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing our reading from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is entitled Creation, and we're in chapter 9, the passing away of Bhishma Deva in the presence of Lord Krishna. Today's text is 43. Sutta Uvacha Krishna evam Bhagavati Mano Vag Drishti Vrishtibihi Atmanyatmanavesha Sontakshvasa Uparamat. Sutta Uvacha Krishna evam Bhagavati Mano Vag Drishti Vrittibihi Atmanyatmanamavesha Sontakshvasa Uparamat. Sutta Uvacha Krishna evam Bhagavati Mano Vag Drishti Vrittibihi Atmanyatmanamavesha Sontakshvasa Uparamat. Please chant. Sutta Uvacha Krishna evam Bhagavati Mano Vag Drishti Vrittibihi Atmanyatmanamavesha Sontakshvasa Uparamat. Uvacha Krishna evam Bhagavati Mano Vag Drishti Vrittibihi Atmanyatmanamavesha Sontakshvasa Uparamat. Sutta Uvacha Krishna evam Bhagavati Mano Vag Drishti Vrittibihi Atmanyatmanamavesha Sontakshvasa Uparamat. Krishna evam Bhagavati Mano Vag Drishti Vrittibihi Atmanyatmanamavesha Sontak Shwasa Uparamat. Mataji. Suto Vacha Krishna Evang Bhagavati Manovang Drishti Vritti Atmanyatmanamavesha Sontak Shwasa Uparamat. That Visarga, the H with the dot under, when it's at the end of a line, it's aha. But when it comes in the middle of a word like that, it's more like a K. Sontak Shwasa Uparamat. Okay. Anyone else want to chant, Prabhu? Okay. So we'll do the word meanings. Sutta Uvacha. Sutta Goswami said, Krishna, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Or Evam, only. Bhagavati, unto him. Manaha, with mind. Vak, speech. Drishti, sight. Prithivihi, activities. Atmani, unto the Supersoul. Atmanam, the living being. Avesha, having merged in. Saha, he. Antakshasaha, inhaling. Uparamat, became silent. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. Sutta Goswami said, thus Bhishma Deva merged himself in the Supersoul, Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with his mind, speech, sight, and actions, and thus he became silent, and his breathing stopped. Please repeat. Sutta Goswami said, thus Bhishma Deva merged himself in the Supersoul, Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with his mind, speech, sight, and actions. And thus he became silent, and his breathing stopped. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The stage attained by Bhishma Deva while quitting his material body is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, because he merged his self into thinking of the Lord by engaging his mind in remembering the Lord's different activities, his speech in chanting the glories of the Lord, and his sight in seeing the Lord personally present before him. Thus, all his activities became concentrated upon the Lord without deviation. This is the highest stage of perfection, and it is possible for everyone to attain this stage by practice of devotional service. The devotional service of the Lord consists of 9 principles of service activities, and they are 1. Hearing, 2. Chanting, 3. Remembering, 4. Serving the lotus feet, 5. Worshipping, 6. Praying, 7. Executing the orders, 8. Fraternizing, and 9. Fully surrendering. Any one of them or all of them are equally competent to award the desired result, but they require to be practiced persistently under the guidance of an expert devotee of the Lord. The first item, hearing, is the most important item of all, and therefore hearing the Bhagavad Gita and later on Srimad Bhagavatam is essential for the serious candidate who wants to attain the stage of Bhishma Deva at the end. How many want to attain the stage of Bhishma Deva at the end? We should all want to attain this stage. The unique situation at Bhishma Deva's time of death can be attained even though Lord Krishna may not be personally present. His words of the Bhagavad Gita or those of Srimad Bhagavatam are identical with the Lord. They are sound incarnations of the Lord, and one can fully utilize them to be entitled to attain the stage of Sri Bhishma Deva, who was one of the 8 Vasus. Every man or animal must die at a certain stage of life, but one who dies like Bhishma Deva attains perfection, and one who dies forced by the laws of nature dies like an animal. That is the difference between a man and an animal. The human form of life is especially meant for dying like Bhishma Deva. Wireless? Bring the wireless mic. Om Agyana Timarannasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Manoha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnang Shapitang Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyahang Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisavangscha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitangsha Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Gando Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhya Shah Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So as we previously discussed, this merging that Bhishma Deva is doing is not giving up his personal identity, which is impossible to do anyway. We are, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Jatasya hi jubam janma mritasya. Every one of us, we've taken birth and we have to die. However, that death is the death of the body, not of the soul. Otherwise, Bhagavad Gita wouldn't make any sense. Wouldn't make any sense. Krishna is telling us in the Bhagavad Gita, Najayate mriyate bhakadachin. We never take birth and we never die, just like he himself never takes birth or dies. Ajopi sanabhyayatma bhutanam isharopi san. He appears by his internal potency once in a day of Brahma, and the living entities being his eternal parts and parcels. We also don't take birth, we don't die, but because we are attached to the material creation, we try to enjoy the material creation, then we take birth many times in a day of Brahma. Krishna comes once in a day of Brahma, but we take birth in 8,400,000 different species within this material world. And the duration of life of each of those species can vary from practically one night. Prabhupada said when he was in Calcutta, everybody knows, they call them Diwali insects. They take birth at night, and over the night, they're attracted to the light, and they engage in their physical union, and they produce offspring, and by morning, they're dead. So practically, their whole life is just one night. And so Prabhupada said, if you told such an insect that human beings live for 100 years, they would be, come on, you must be kidding. Similarly, when we tell persons who don't accept the Vedic canon, when we tell them that Lord Brahma lives for billions of years, they don't understand, they can't accept. How is that possible? Because the soul, again, is eternal. And the different types of bodies that we attain in this material world give us different durations of life. So, Jalaja Navalakshani, Stavara Lakshabhingshati. Krimayo Yuta Rudra Pankyakya, Pakshinam Dasha Lakshanam. Tringsa Lakshani Pashaba, Chatur Lakshani Manasha. This is the Vedic version, that there are 8,400,000 species. Jalaja Navalakshani. Those who take birth in water, 900,000. Stavara Lakshabhingshati. Those who are fixed, like trees, creepers, plants, 2 million. Krimayo Ruja Sankhyakhya. The amphibians and the reptiles, 1.1 million. Trimksha Lakshani Pashava. Pashu, animals like dogs, cats, they are, we skipped one actually. Pakshinam Dasha Lakshanam. The birds, there are 1 million species. And then Tringsha Lakshani Pashava, the Pashus, the animals, cats, dogs like that, lions, tigers, elephants, they are 3 million. And then finally, Chatur Lakshani Manusha. There are 400,000 human-like species. We see even on this planet, currently there are so many varieties of human bodies, from the pygmy bodies that still exist in Africa to 2 meters tall, which is practically average here in Europe, to in South Sudan, formerly it was just Sudan, but it broke into 2 countries not so long ago. In the south part, South Sudan, the average height of a male, adult male, is over 7 feet tall. That means, they're literally like 7 feet 2 inches, going up 7 feet 5 inches, like that. Even the women are 2 meters tall, average. So on this material planet that we're living on, this Earth planet, there's so many varieties of human beings, but the 400,000 species that are being mentioned as human-like are not necessarily physical bodies, but mentality. Mentality. There are 400,000 different types of mentalities that the human being can attain based on the modes of nature that we associate with. As we know, there are 3 modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And when you mix them all together, that's when you get these varieties of mentalities. Now, Prabhupada said the animal mentality in general is to exploit. The animal wants to exploit everything in its surroundings for its own benefit. If the animal can capture another animal and eat it, if it can capture a human being, depending on the type of animal, like lions, tigers, even some big snakes still exist on this planet that are big enough to swallow a human being, they exploit their environment. But the human mentality is to do good to others, not to exploit. So that's an immediate division, dividing line between animal and human. Otherwise, ahara nijabaya maitanamcha, samana etat pashabi samana. These 4 activities the animals engage in and human beings also engage in. Ahara, eating; nidra, sleeping; bhayam, fearing or defending; and maitana, sex life. These 4 things are common to animals and to human beings. Dharma hitesho adhiko vishesho. Dharmena hina pashabi samana. So what is the distinction between human and animal? When you come to the human platform, there must be some kind of dharma that one ascribes to, prescribes to. There must be some kind of religious or spiritual system that's inculcated in the human being to distinguish them between. So that verse says, Dharmena hi pashabi samana. If you don't have any form of dharma, like many people say they don't believe in God, they don't believe in anything religious, they don't follow any religious practice, that means animalistic. Animalistic, guaranteed. Even though they may look externally, again, like they're civilized, suit and tie and drive nice cars. But the material energy is very expert at creating situations where the real animalistic nature comes out. I grew up in New York City. So in 66, I think it was, there was a citywide blackout. Power went down. And so there was a lot of crime that was going on that night. But it wasn't just like, the ordinary criminals in the street. In Wall Street, a lot of guys wearing suit and ties because there was complete darkness. They took advantage to rape a woman or something like that. So the animalistic tendency is there, even though externally they look like they're civilized and polished. But it's just polished animal civilization. So here, we're hearing about the passing, or we've just heard about the passing of Bhishma Dev. And somebody who's not, again, aware of or familiar with the Vedic canon, they may accuse that you people are just focused on death. You're always talking about death and dying, and come on, lighten up, Why so much focus on death? But it's because death is inevitable. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Jatasya hi dhruvam janma mritasya. For one who has taken birth, death is certain. So to ignore that, as we say, to ignore the elephant in the room is foolish. Death is certain. But the death is of the body, and one can be trained how to not take birth again so that one doesn't have to go through the death experience. We've been through the death experience millions of times. As a bird, as a cat, as a snake, as a rat, as a fish. As humans, we've gone through this birth experience so many times. So if we don't survive the death experience, then all of this religion and all spirituality has no meaning. Has no meaning. And many people think like that. They think, yes, There is nothing after death. Death is the end of everything. So while we're alive, let us enjoy. Let us enjoy the hedonistic. But even that comes from the Vedic culture. Rina karta krampipet, yabanjabet sukamjabet, basmi bhutasya dehasya, kutak punak agamanobhavet. This is the Charvak Muni. He says, Rina krita krampipet. Beg or borrow whatever you need to do, get money and buy ghee. Because first of all, sense gratification starts with eating nicely. If you're weak and emaciated, you're not going to enjoy. As they say, that religion, trying to preach to a starving man is useless. First of all, feed him. If a man is starving, he doesn't want to hear about God consciousness. He wants food on his table. So, sense gratification starts with eating nicely. So Charvak Muni says, Rina means if you have to become a debtor, it's all right. Borrow whatever you need to do, get money, buy ghee, and make nice prasadam. Nice food. They don't believe in God, so there's no question of prasadam. Nice food. And then somebody may object, but, what about life after death? Isn't it wrong to... No, he said, don't worry. Basmi bhutasya dehasya. When you die, the body will be burned. Kutaha. How? Again, will it come into being? Kutaha punak agamanobhavet. Don't worry. Once the body's burned, it's all over. It'll never come back again. So don't worry. Just eat, drink, be merry, enjoy life. But that's not intelligent. With a little bit of intelligence, we can understand that life is a continuum. One takes birth, the body transforms gradually from infant to childhood, adulthood, old age, and finally death comes. But the life force that was in the body, animating the body all through its existence, that life force continues, goes on. Therefore, we have in our ISKCON culture the changing bodies diorama. I was in Los Angeles in the mid-70s when that was created first. Bharadwaj and his team from the Fate Museum, first American theistic exhibition. So they created that diorama of changing bodies. First a little baby, and then gradually childhood, and then youthhood, and then adulthood, and then... So whenever we would take that diorama out for festivals, we would ask people, because people are attracted, they're naturally attracted. They come and they want to see. So we ask them, where do you think you are in this continuum? And they will point, either to a youth body or an adult body. And then we'll point to that final one. What do you think happens when that body is no more useful? So this is what the Vedas are teaching us, that yes, you are eternal and the body will die at some point, but make preparations. Live your life in such a way that you can pass, as Prabhupada says here, just like Bhishma Dev did. Fully conscious, as Prabhupada says, Krishna may not be personally present when you pass, but if you take shelter of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially in this age of the holy name, then your passing will be glorious. Otherwise, one is actually going to be visited by the Yamadutas. The Yamadutas, their service to Yamaraj is to go and take those souls that are sinful and have to be brought before him for judgment so that their future can be decided. So that story is there in the 6th canto, that history, not story, it's a history of a Jamil. And we took that history from the Bhagavatam and we made one book for book distribution called Second Chance, A Second Chance. And on the cover, front cover, is that Prabhupada never called them paintings, he called them pictures. The picture of a Jamil being dragged out of his body by the Yamadutas. And then the Vishnudutas are coming to stop them. So one book distributor, one Mataji in North Carolina, she was out distributing books one day at the airport, and one business guy, suit tie, was going by, so she showed him that book, Second Chance, tried to sell him. He said, no, And he just kept walking. So she's telling the story. About 2 months later, that same guy came through the airport, and he was looking for her. When finally found her, he said, "I've been looking for you." And she was surprised. "Why are you looking for me?" He said, "I want that book. You tried to sell me this book a couple of months ago." So she asked him, "Why? Why you changed your mind? Now you want the book." He said, "After you tried to sell me that book, I went on a business trip and I fell into a coma. And he said, while I was in a coma, I saw those guys." But somehow or other, I was revived, and now I understand why you're trying to sell these books. So he bought the book. So this is what book distribution is meant for, to awaken people to the fact that you're not this body is going to die, and if you don't take to the process of Krishna consciousness, if you don't take to some bona fide religious spiritual process, these guys are going to come and get you. These Yamadutas are going to, they are never late, and they love their service. They don't have to be bribed, they don't have to be prompted, they love their service. Now somebody may ask, how can somebody be so cruel to be eager to rip somebody out of their body? And so it's explained that the Yamadutas are souls who went to Pitri Loka, and when they're there, their descendants are supposed to maintain their status by performing yajna, offering sacrifice to keep them in that position. But their descendants, they stop doing it, and therefore they fall from that position and they become Yamadutas. So they're a little bit angry. They always have this angry side to them, but they love their service. They love to do what they're doing. Anybody here in the medical field? Any doctors, nurses, anybody here? There is a terminology in the medical profession, in hospitals especially, it's called terminal restlessness. They have noticed over a long time experience that people who are just about to die, they get very anxious. And even when they sedate them, they're still very, very anxious. They suffer these anxiety fits. It's called terminal restlessness. So one devotee, another Mataji, her father was about to die. He was in the hospital, and he was going through this terminal restlessness. He would yell, "Get away from me! Leave me alone!" He was yelling like that. The nurses were reporting to her, because it was her father. So when he got to that stage, she, like most devotees would do, she brought a perpetual recording of Prabhupada chanting japa, and she sat and read with him, for him, Krishna book, Bhagavad Gita, like that. And lo and behold, the terminal restlessness went away. The nurses were surprised that he became completely calm, and then he had a good passing. No more anxiety. So again, this is what Prabhupada has given us. This is why we have to be grateful. Prabhupada has put us on the path of eternal life where we never have to see the Yamadutas. Prabhupada said that. You take the Krishna consciousness, you chant Hare Krishna, you will never see the Yamadutas, not even in dreams. Otherwise, those who are still on the path of sinful life, they are guaranteed to see the Yamadutas. They are guaranteed to go through that. Because not only are they on time, they actually come early. And that's why her father was seeing them. They're so eager to do their job that they come early and they park. Let's say you're on a hospital bed. They just hang out in the room. Waiting for the right moment. Because there's a specific time, like Prabhupada said, you may be late for this appointment, that appointment, but you can't be late for your death appointment. There's a specific time already fixed up when you're going to leave this body. And the Yamadutas know. So they come, And quite often they bring these animals, dogs, just like in Western culture we have this hounds of death. That's where it comes from. So they come early with their hounds of death, they hang out in the room or wherever you are, and they just wait for the right moment to. So Bhishmadev obviously didn't have to go through this. He's a pure devotee of the Lord. He was in full consciousness. Krishna came personally in front of him. But as Prabhupada said, we may not be on that level where Krishna will be personally present when we're about to leave. But if we have practiced Krishna consciousness our whole life, then there's no question of seeing Yamadutas. And if we're fortunate enough to think of Krishna at the last moment, then we will go back to Krishna. As Krishna says, you think of me at the time of death, and there's no question of your destination. You'll go back to home, back to Godhead. So we have to be trained again to take shelter. Here we have beautiful deities of Panchatattva, Gaur Nitai. And there's a nice verse I can share with you that I recite in front of the deities every day. It's from the 11th chapter of the Anjalila. And it says, Jaya Gauradeya Krishna Swayam Bhagavan Kripa Koredeya Prabhu Nija Padadan. That verse says, my dear Lord Chaitanya, who are none other than Krishna himself, Krishna Swayam Bhagavan, just like we have in this verse today, Krishna Swayam Bhagavan, that's what I thought, that's why I thought about sharing this with you. Kripa Kori, by your causeless mercy, please give me shelter at your lotus feet. Nijjapada Dan. So this is our whole motivation, to take shelter at the lotus feet of Guru and Krishna. We don't try to take shelter of the Lord directly. Like Krishna says, one who says he's my devotee is not my devotee, but one who is a devotee of my devotee, he is my devotee. So we are being trained to take shelter of the lotus feet of Guru, and through lotus feet of Guru we take shelter of Krishna, and then there's no fear anymore. There's no fear. Everybody here is fearing death. Even the biggest demons, like Hiranyakashipu. He knew, I don't want to die. And therefore he tried to become immortal by getting benediction from Lord Brahma. And he thought he was immortal because he tried to trick Lord Brahma. I may not die in a day, I may not die in a night, I may not die on land or on water, in the air. I may not be killed by any human or weapon, or he trying to get all these, and Brahma gave him all those benedictions, which made it a little difficult for the Lord to kill him, but he killed him anyway. And then, after he was killed by Lord Nrsingadev, Bhagavan Ki Jai. Now this movie is going around, Maha Avatar Nrsingadev. Is it playing here in anywhere in Slovenia? Huh? Oh, you watched it here, so you all saw it already. I haven't seen it yet. I was in India last year for the grand opening of the Nrsinga wing of the TOVP. So the director or producer, or maybe it was both, I don't know. Anyway, some Indian guy came and he showed, the one who behind the movie, he showed an extended short, introduction to the movie. It was about 10, 15 minutes. So that I've seen, but I haven't seen the whole movie yet. But the devotees are raving that it's very nice. So yes, Lord Nrsingadev came and he killed Hiranyakashipu for torturing his son Prahlad. And then Hiranyakashipu's brother, what's his name? Hiranyaksha. He became angry because he considered Hiranyakashipu to be his older brother, even though they were twins. So Prabhupada explains that when twins are born, the one that comes out last is considered to be the elder, because it means that he was impregnated first. So Hiranyaksha considered Hiranyakashipu to be his older brother, and he was very angry. So he was always looking for this Vishnu who killed his brother, torturing everybody else along the way. So finally, he met his match. He went to all the demigods to try to get him to fight, and they said, no, just wait. You will the person who is your equal will come and fight with you sometime. So Lord Varaha came. And I don't know if this producer has a plan to do a Varaha avatar movie also, but interestingly, Hiranyaksha, at first he was insulting Lord Varaha, calling him all kinds of names. And he called him, "What kind of animal are you?" We don't want to recount all the insults. But Lord Varaha, he's made a nice reply that just stuck with me because the reply is beautiful and the way Prabhupada translate that verse is very poetic. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Satyam Vayam Bho Vanago Charamriga Yusmad Vridan Mrigaye Gramasingyam Namritya Pashyaya Patimuktasya Birya Pikatanam Tabarganantya Bhadra. And the way Prabhupada translates, he says, the Supreme Personality has said, "Indeed, we are creatures of the jungle, and we're searching after hunting dogs like you. One who's freed from the clutches of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you're indulging, because you are bound up by the laws of death." So this is our worship of the Lord. He's free from death, and therefore he can award us deathlessness. Nobody else can give liberation, only Krishna. No demigod, no forefather, nothing like that. Only the Lord can give liberation. And therefore he's known as Mukunda. So we can also become free from fear if we take shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Panchatattva, Sri Sri Gauranitai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we'll stop here. Any questions? Yes. Ram Tirtha Prabhu, 1 second. Do we have another wireless, or I just repeat? But you have to speak a little loud. I'm a little bit hard of hearing.
Thank you for this amazing class. My question is, if someone who practices Bhakti Yoga don't finish yet, so what then? In the end, we should do Tekem or we don't do Tekem?
Haven't you read Bhagavad Gita? What does Krishna say?
It's never lost.
Sorry? Krishna says that if you don't finish this process, then you come back, but you take birth in a family, a wealthy family, or a family of, elevated spiritualists. Suchinam Srimatam Gehe, Yoga Brashta. If you're Yoga Brashta, you fall from the yoga practice, then there's no loss or diminution. Whatever level you've reached, you'll start exactly at that point in the next life. And you will not fall into animal life. You'll come back as a human being, elevated family, family of devotees, or rich family. Rich family means you don't have to struggle. From the very beginning of life, you can dedicate your life to spiritual activities. But unfortunately, quite often, that doesn't happen. Somebody takes birth in a rich family, and they become bewildered. They think themselves to be better than everybody else. And Prabhupada tells a story of one rich family in India, but they were very puffed up. So the sons couldn't wait for the father to die so they could inherit. So finally the father passed away, but because he was so attached to the family and the house, he took birth in the same village, and he became a cobbler, somebody who repairs shoes. So one day he came to his former house to see if they needed any shoes to be repaired. He was spontaneously attracted to this house. But the sons, because they didn't really like their father, they were glad that he died and they inherited his money, they took instant dislike to this cobbler, and for no reason they started beating him. Get away from here. So this is the reward for remaining attached in the material world. You come back, and you don't have an easy time of it. Ultimately, nobody has an even easy time. Even the wealthiest person, they have to suffer the threefold miseries, and death will come again. But for the devotee, again, whatever progress they've made, they have become an ashwasti, pratyavagya. So swapamapya dharmasya. You don't lose even a fraction. If you made 50% advancement and you start out 51% the next life. And that's why we see in ISKCON, at least I've seen over the last 52 years of being in ISKCON, that sometimes somebody walks through the door and immediately, practically overnight, they learn all the mantras, they learn everything, and they're like an old devotee within just a few months. I've seen it so many times. I was in the San Diego temple in the early 90s. I just happened to be outside during the Sunday Peace program, and one car pulled up, and a young man, it must have been about 16, 17 at the time, gets out of the car, and I heard the driver, who happened to be his father, I found out later, say, "You sure you want to go here?" And he said, "Yes, Dad, don't worry." So he sent his father away, he came, and literally within weeks, he became a devotee. So his story was that while he was in school, he became curious about goal of life, how to achieve, and he went to a used bookstore and found Bhagavad Gita as it is. So he started reading, and became convinced, and that's when he asked his father, he saw the address list, and he asked his father to take him to visit. Now, an interesting addendum to that story, the parents had been divorced, so he was living with his father sometimes, his mother sometimes. So later on, a few months later, after he joined, his mother came to see, what is this all about? What did my son get into? First time she comes to the temple, she had never been to a Hare Krišna temple in her life. So San Diego, they have Radha Giridhari, and they're not very large deities, maybe about this size, Radha Krishna deities, but beautiful, gorgeous. And there's also Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and Gaur Nitai. So she walks through the temple front door, sees the deities for the first time, and she says, "Oh my God, they're so beautiful." So some people get it right away. They don't have to be convinced. As we know, within the Judeo-Christian tradition, they don't understand deity worship. They don't understand deity worship. For somebody who's raised in that tradition to immediately be attracted to the deities, that means she also has some pious credit from previous life. And like we say in the Vedic culture, the son takes after the mother. So if the boy became a devotee like that, the mother must have some pious credits also. So for devotees, we don't have to worry. Yes, we should try. Prabhupada said, don't be lazy. Try to finish up your business in this lifetime. So many lifetimes you've wasted in the material world. Sacrifice this one life for Krishna consciousness and see what happens. So we want to be serious enough to finish up our business in this lifetime. But even if we don't, there's no loss. We'll, again, guaranteed, take to the path, be given a chance to go back to Godhead. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for your kind attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
You have everything BBT, the hoodie, the folder.
Well, I've been with BBT since 1974.
Oh my God. When did BBT start? 72?
No, in 74 it was still ISKCON Press.
74.
They got the non-profit status was started in 72, but we didn't actually start functioning as BBT until 75. In 74, in New York, we still had ISKCON Press. So that's when I got involved. But then in 75, they shut down ISKCON Press and all of us